Welcome to C-Suite Sherpas, where we shine a spotlight on business experts and resources that you should know. I'm Ron Partridge, I'm your host, and I'd like to introduce today's guest, Francie Jain. Welcome, Francie.
Thank you, Ron. I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome. Francie is the founder of Terawatt, which is a B2B marketplace for customized group coaching, and we're going to get into exactly what that means here in a minute.
I'm ready.
All right, so we'll start off by saying, kind of give us an overview of what you offer your client and really how it benefits them.
Yeah, so we are a B2B, which is there's not a lot of those out there, but the point of the marketplace is really to say that it's decentralized and customized. The best analogy is Airbnb, like the Airbnb for executive coaching, which means that we serve three stakeholders. One is executive coaches, one is employers, and one is employees. And what we're able to do is thread the needle so that each constituent meets their needs, has their needs met. From a C-suite perspective, really what we're able to do is help them bring down turnover in a way that employees opt in. There is a lot of research, and some of it's from our coaches and some of it's from academics, about the impact, the return on investment and human capital investment. And this is under that umbrella. And we have data showing that, good impactful group sessions, learning, training, coaching can reduce turnover by 1% to 2% a year. And that kind of compounds. And it also severely impacts the bottom line. So, one great example that one of our coaches has is working with a healthcare system in Colorado, and they're able to reduce turnover from 24% to 4%. And that sounds nice. And you're like, wow, that's cool. Good for them. But the difference between 24% and 4% for this organization with a few thousand employees was $30 million a year. And that's an annual number. Would you like to have $30 million more per year to decide what you want to do with? And so that's really the issue. If you talk to any CFO, they'll tell you turnover cost is one of their biggest expenses, and it's preventable.
Go ahead.
What's cool about it is that it's professional development for the employee. If you look at any surveys about why people leave employers, it's typically for bad bosses and professional advancement. We're solving those two problems at once, making people better managers by teaching them how to communicate better, and then helping people in middle, I call it grow, which is what everyone's looking for on the job.
Okay, that's great. So just to explain for me how this works a little bit, if I'm a company, if I'm a CEO of a company, am I going to your marketplace to look for specific services or service providers? How does that work exactly?
Yeah. So we have a roster right now of 65 coaches who we vetted, background checks, and I speak to them. We look at their materials. Typically, all of them come to us via referral by other coaches. We have a very strict no charlatans rule. And so a lot of people I know from college. So people I've known for 30 years are on the platform. They've had incredible careers. I went to Princeton, which was an incredible college, but then also people from business school. We have all kinds of coaches, but all of them are very focused on the B2B side, right? No one's writing resumes or helping you get a new career. That's a different genre. So we have two different ways, sort of products, I guess you could call it, but we do just match, right? If someone has a problem, we can help them with a survey and really figure out, is this exactly the right problem to solve? And then for everyone's super clear on what the problem is, then we can send out an RFP to our coaches. And we say, can you please bid on this and tell us what you advise? Because for instance, one coach might say, with this problem, I've done this before, and this is going to be a full 6 months, every other week for 6 months. There might be someone saying, I've done this before. We could probably do 4 sessions and see some real results. So then we compile all that and send it to the buyer. We do a lot of services about defining the impact. We can do control groups and help you figure out what metrics you're aiming to affect and do the analysis for you. And actually right now, what's kind of cool is that that's so valuable that we're just trying to get a bunch of case studies up and running. So that's a free thing we're growing in there, but ultimately that will be a business line for us.
Okay. So the benefit for the customer to come to your marketplaces really they have access to a variety of coaches, and you can help match them to the coach that would really solve not only their need, but maybe culturally fit them better than other coaches. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. That's why I love a marketplace, because I don't know what is meaningful to you. I just want to give you a bunch of options and you can decide what's meaningful for you. We've had one situation where we did the same process where we created an RFP and we got a bunch of ideas in, we sent it to the customer, and they picked this one coach who was super cool. I mean, they all are super cool, but this one was very super cool too. And I said to the buyer, like, why did you pick her? What was the reason? And the buyer said, oh, well, I listened to her podcast and I like that she dropped F-bombs. So I just felt like that would fit in our culture. I was like, okay, I wouldn't have called that. And I think that's, to me, like what a marketplace is, right? You choose. I'm not telling you how it works. And that's also part of this too, is like, we don't have any Terawatt content. Like all the coaches have their own developed content or they license content from somebody else.
Mhm.
It's really about solving the problem. It's not like me like selling three things over and over again.
What do you think sets, or what would you say sets your business apart from others that may do the same thing?
Well, for one thing, we're a marketplace like Airbnb, right? We are a marketplace. When we make a match, we just have a commission. Our commission is 15%, which is way lower than Airbnb or most other marketplaces. And we're just trying, so for us, it's like, yes, we're incentivized if we're selling a higher ticket item, but that's your choice. The business structure is very different. I think the other thing that you need to think through when you're a buyer is that, yes, there are many other providers of coaching, but again, they have their own content. And as a result, they're typically underpaying coaches. And so what does that mean? That means that they're employing coaches who don't have a business outside that they can rely on. So the best coaches don't work for those coaching companies. So they might be fine for like maybe like, an employee who just kind of like wants a little bit of feedback here and there. But like we're talking about like expert PhD level people who typically are working with CFOs. The reason the marketplace works, group coaching, is that this is an expensive person. Their rate is divided by the cohort of employees. So it's in budget for the buyer. It wouldn't be in budget if they're going one-on-one to one. It would be more than their salary or whatever. It just wouldn't make economic sense. If you have kind of a conference budget, it's a replacement for that substitute.
How do you see this field evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? And how are you staying ahead of the curve?
It's funny because to me, the internet and what people expect is like decentralization. That's the future. If you think about social media, the Facebooks of the world, it's just not as interesting as the blue skies of the world. And then like, what is it? The one for the wildfires, like watch duty or something like that. And like, there's something really cool about people getting involved in communities for the right reasons. It's not a money grab or power play. That's what I like about it. It's elevating individual coaches and helping them like raise their hand that they want more leads. And it's letting people decide what they want and solving their problems. That's what I think the future is, because that's what I want to do on the internet all day long. I love a marketplace.
Yeah.
I buy everything on marketplaces. And I just think that choice is really, really important. I like expertise. I don't know if that's the future or if that's just my interest in life, but I would always rather speak to an expert than an average person when I'm trying to get advice or solve a problem. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do. I mean, this business completely came out of my head as this evolution of different ideas. And so I think we're ahead of the curve. We're just so different from everyone else that people sometimes aren't really sure how to understand what we're doing, which I'm hoping means we're ahead of the curve.
One question our viewers typically have is, how does AI gonna affect thing in your mind?
One of the really cool things for AI within marketplaces is helping customize.
Yeah.
Right now, pretty much what we're doing is very white glove and we make it lovely and easy for everyone. Ultimately, there's no reason all the questions I work with people on to create an RFP can't be done by conversational bots. If people want to speak one-on-one, that's a different service. The big question that I haven't figured out is like, how do you talk about like AI coaching? People love to talk about this. I get it because it is interesting to think about like if Claude could coach you day by day about your business and you get better. And I'm sure people probably are getting better who are doing that. But I want to speak to a human who has connections within their brain and has like personal connections and can like come up with things. So I'm not at a place yet where like I'm looking for like a robot coach. I think there's definitely a use for that. One area where there could be some interesting things happening is like what's the Marshall Goldsmith has like top 100 coaches, and he created this Marshall bot. Have you
No, I haven't
listened
heard
to it?
that. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
he's written like 15 books or maybe more, some crazy number. He had one of the big AI companies download all of his books and create a Marshall bot. And so you can present him with a problem, like a conundrum you have. And then the Marshall bot will like give you like his nuggets from all of his work. So that's really cool. Maybe employees have that app on their phone and they're like, I've got this problem right now. Like, but then the other part of it is as a human, we also have to learn to relate to humans. I mean, that's part of the human experience. Unfortunately, we just can't have everyone be a carbon copy of us or a bot who like does our bidding constantly. So that's like the human condition, understanding how to communicate your needs and your wants and work with other humans. And so in that way, I'm really not clear on like how AI is going to be so effective, but I think there's a lot of, it can be helpful like as an additional resource.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Give our viewers a chance to get to know you at a different level, a little personally. So I'm going to ask you some lightning round questions. Give me the first answer that comes to mind or no answer. If you're ready to go, we'll launch into it.
I'm ready.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Oh, tea. I have tea. Black
Cats
tea.
or dogs?
Okay, so okay, that's a hard one because I have a dog right here who I love, but I'm having like a real obsession with cats right now, like a lot of Instagram cats.
But you don't have a cat.
I do not have a cat, and I'm actively pitching my family on adding a cat.
Favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
What do I think about often? Well, I'll tell you, my daughter just mentioned this quote last night, and I think it's a beautiful way to think of the world. Glow sticks don't work until you break them.
Hmm.
First of all, she's 12. And I just think you got to remember beautiful things come out of hard things, or not everything is easy and not everything is linear. And so I'm always trying to remember that and just think, okay, like I'm just at a plateau as opposed to like being bummed out. So I'm always trying to see the glass half full or try to see what could be possible.
Okay, favorite movie or streaming series?
Since people are always looking for good shows, I would say Lincoln Lawyer, I've been very interested in. I love a good mystery, and it's from the perspective of it's actually fascinating because it's the perspective of the defense lawyer, which typically has kind of a bad rap, right? You're like, oh, you're defending all these scummy guys. It's very unusual, and it's in LA, and it's kind of like a subplot is like the food trucks he goes to and all of his obsession with food. And anyway, a strong recommend. I think they're like 3 seasons, so you can really like binge it if you're ready. That's what I enjoy.
Favorite book?
My favorite book actually would be great for this group too. It's called Turn the Ship Around. Have you heard of this book?
No, I haven't heard.
It's by this guy named David Marquet, a former naval submarine officer. He basically flipped the military power structure on its head to say that all information has to go from the bottom up and as opposed from the top down. And like that's like it always blows my mind when I think about it.
Yeah.
If there's ever a more dangerous place to be in the world, it's on a nuclear submarine. He was able to do all this, got all these awards. It wrote a book. I'm obsessed with him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bucket list item that you've already accomplished and one that you have not, but is at the top of your list.
Yes. Well, the first one has to probably be Terawatt because I went to business school and I worked in finance for a long time. And I always thought, I bet it'd be really fun to like start a company or like run a company. And then I did it. I feel really like, and plus I'm in love with this business. It's not just like I figured out, oh, I can make this little widget and that'll be great. I just really obsessed with the business. I'm so pleased with it. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I almost went on a hot air balloon in India last fall. But because of the winds and the fog, we couldn't go. So that's got to be the next thing. My daughter was just saying, oh, we got to go back to do that. And I agree, especially like at a sunrise. It'd be so beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like everything I haven't done is on my bucket list.
The most important question, if our viewers want to collaborate with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, an easy way to find me is on LinkedIn, Francie.Jane, just because Francie is a kind of unusual name. And then Jane, the Indian spelling Jain, that's pretty common. But Francie Jain is like, I don't think there are any others. And then Terawatt on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is like our key social media avenue. And then, or send me an email. I'm at the website and I'm always looking at the website stuff. Probably LinkedIn's the best.
Hey, Francie, it's been great talking to you. Thank you. And it's very insightful and interesting. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.